Bien, señores, y como habíamos prometido, estamos directamente en vivo desde tu almuerzo de negocios aquí en Sanville, en este tu FOA, The Future of Advertising 2018. Estamos directamente desde Sanville para conversar con los grandes protagonistas que van a estar exponiendo todo lo que es el futuro de la publicidad, y de verdad que este es el más importante evento de mercadeo y publicidad
Así mismo.
en nuestro país, y estamos súper regocijados y agradeciendo a los ejecutivos de FOA la confianza de esta transmisión en vivo directamente desde Sanville, Ravelo.
Claro que sí, Rafael, y de verdad dándole la bienvenida a todas las personas que sintonizan en este momento. Y tal y como le habíamos prometido, vamos a tratar de entrevistar a todos los protagonistas que en el día de hoy nos acompañan aquí en The Future of Advertising. Y en este momento, pues queremos dar la más cordial bienvenida a Kim Garst, quien es una especialista en redes sociales, pero en cómo monetizar, cómo hacer negocio a través de las redes sociales, y quien tendrá una ponencia más adelante en el día de hoy, y pues ha accedido primero a darnos la entrevista. Quiere decir que usted está escuchando esta entrevista antes de que ella aparezca en el escenario de FOA. Kim, welcome to the Dominican Republic and welcome to FOA 2018.
Well, I'm super excited to be here. It's a lovely country, beautiful.
Thank you. How about the weather? Are you comfortable with the weather?
The weather has been very similar to my weather at home. I'm from Tampa, Florida.
Ah, okay.
And so the weather is very similar. The afternoon rain showers, the humidity, I'm very familiar with it.
Excelente. Bueno, pues está muy familiarizada con el clima porque ella vive en Tampa, y Tampa, bueno, pues hay un clima muy agradable. Kim es especialista en redes sociales, tiene, bueno, mucho tiempo trabajando en mercadeo y en las redes sociales desde el 1997, y viene con una ponencia que es el futuro de las redes sociales. Kim, I'm talking to the audience that the speech here in FOA is going to be about the future of the social media, of the social networks. And talking about the future is a little bit tricky because every day social media is evolving, is changing. Right now we are using, for example, Instagram. Instagram is like the boom of social media, but 4 years ago was Snapchat, and 3 years after it was like Facebook or Twitter. How can we predict what is going to happen in the future in the social media?
Well, I constantly am saying that really the only constant in marketing as a whole, and certainly in social media, is change.
Change.
And that's something we hate, right? We learn something, we feel like we've mastered it, and then all of a sudden they change it on us. And that can be very frustrating. But I have learned to really embrace those changes because it's a new opportunity. And I think that's the way we have to look at it as brands and business owners is, you know, when something happens, something shifts, then we need to pay attention to that. And is there an opportunity there for our business to show up in a unique way? I think lots of times businesses get so lockstep in, you know, everything that they think they know versus stepping into the unknown. And I really believe that that's where the true opportunity is, as long as it makes sense and you have the time and resources to you know, put towards something that's emerging, some new idea, some new way of doing things. It can really pay off if you have the you know, if you really will step up and out into the new opportunities.
Kim nos está diciendo que obviamente en las redes sociales, como en el mercadeo y en la vida, lo único constante es el cambio, pero que el cambio se convierte en grandes oportunidades para mejorar, y también con ver la evolución de todas estas cosas y de cómo sacarle provecho a través del tiempo. Twitter is about information and text. Facebook is more like about family and sharing something. Instagram is more like the beauty of life and visual, like photos and video. But the consumer and the millennials or the zillennials, I don't know, or
Next
the name,
generation.
the generation Z, is changing so fast in the way that they engage with the social media. What are the trends right now? How can you engage with this audience, because every day is so difficult, to surprise them, to make something that they can embrace.
Well, I think the younger generation, millennials in particular, which is usually the buzz phrase a lot of people use when they're referring to that generation and even younger. They live on their phones very much differently than when we were coming along.
Absolutely.
We didn't have phones, and now we look back and like how did we live without them?
Yes.
But they grew up with phones. They live with on them, and they use them literally for everything. So if they have a question, they Google it. If
Yes.
they have, if they want to know, about a restaurant, what their hours are, they
Yes.
they get on their phones. So it's just a constant thing. So it's a way to show you as a business owner, we have to show up in a relevant way that matters to them. Because they're very selective on, where they give their attention, their time and attention. So, it goes back to what do they truly care about outside of our product or service? How can we, connect with them on a human-to-human level around things that matter, so that we have an opportunity to introduce our products and services at some point in the timeline. But you can't just show up and say, okay, here's my product or here's my service and expect them to pay attention, because it's not the way they operate. They operate
Yes.
very much from an information standpoint. And social is super important to millennials. They're constantly looking to see, what other people are saying before they buy. They're the most informed buyer, in my opinion, of any generation that has ever been produced,
Yes.
because they use the internet so very well.
Nos dice Kim que obviamente las generaciones más jóvenes literalmente viven con el teléfono en las manos.
Que no pueden
y
vivir sin él.
no pueden vivir sin él, pero obviamente también se comportan de una manera diferente y buscan no solamente que se les informe las características de un producto, las características de una promoción o de una campaña, sino que buscan también conectarse con lo que esas marcas dicen, y buscan también hasta cierto punto pues ver qué les recomiendan otras personas, qué dicen las personas que ellos siguen. That's the importance of the influencers, the celebrities in the social media is because of this behavior of the millennials or Generation Z?
I think, honestly, that influencers can be a variety of, they can come in a lot of sizes and shapes, and they don't have to have a community of millennials to be an influencer.
Okay.
I think a lot of times we think of an influencer as somebody who has this massive community, and truly an influencer, we're all influencers. If we go to a restaurant and we say that
Food
we
is
love it,
amazing, yes.
we tell somebody about it.
Yeah.
And from a quote unquote influencer standpoint, you could have a very connected community of 2,000 people, and then you could compare that to someone who has 1 million people, in their community, and then you measure the two and say who truly has influence,
Yes.
who's really paying attention to that influencer, and it could be that small 2,000 community that can just blow the other influencer out of the water, simply because they're so connected to that community.
Yes.
And that community
So specialized.
And yes, I think the niches are so important, where you build a community of people around something that they have a common interest with, and they share with you. And then the connection of how do you love them up, and really make them feel like they're a part of what you're doing,
Yes.
and your journey and your story.
And you are an equal, no?
And and they're a part of it. They need to feel like they're a part of it.
Excellent.
Quería preguntarle a Kim, para aquellas personas que se están sumando a esta conversación, estamos hablando con Kim Garst, que es experta en estos temas de social media, todo lo que es...
Según la revista Forbes, una de las 10 influenciadoras más poderosas en las redes sociales.
En las redes sociales. Kim, we have some kind of Tem, about it. What about the metrics that you know for effective campaigns? Because the client have a confusion about it.
Yes.
What kind of campaigns?
The
and
number of followers, is the
followers.
engagement, is where are the more
What's the
important
metrics?
metrics?
the metrics.
Going back to that influencer example, obviously all brands, when they hire someone to help them with their social media strategy, they want results. They want you to prove that the money they've spent has produced an ROI for
Yes.
them. And if you have that small influencer, I think influencer campaigns are shifting. I personally feel like that the ambassador opportunities drive a deeper opportunity for brands, simply because they're invested. If you have an ambassador relationship with someone, that person's way more invested in your brand because they're sharing it routinely versus the one-off influencer deals that so many times you see happening. But going back to that original example where you have somebody who's super connected to their 2,000, people, depending on what, if you're doing an influencer campaign, obviously the metrics could be simply, how many views, how many touch points
The
did that,
reach.
what's the reach? The ultimate measuring stick, honestly, though, is sales. If they're promoting something for a brand, the bottom line is how many sales do they produce for the company. Now, the problem with that in social media is just because the sale didn't come in today doesn't mean a sale won't happen as a result of that influencer sharing that brand. Simply because people may not be ready to buy in that moment. They may
Exactly.
circle back later and say, 6 months ago I saw this on Instagram and I'm going to go check that out.
Yes.
So those are things you can't put a finger on. You can't really impact those kinds of things. You just have to realize that it's going to happen. So some things in social media you can't quantify. You can't say,
Yes.
okay, that's the result of something I did on social media today.
It's true, because if you see on Instagram, for example, advertising about a vacation, maybe the people can go vacation right now.
Right.
Maybe
Exactly.
he go.
Maybe
he
they
can-
have to save for 6 months,
Yes.
right?
or for a year.
For a year.
But But this is an issue, because how can you explain that to a businessman, to a business owner? Because in the they are, and it happens the same with television, radio, and
Absolutely.
newspaper. They want to see the sales coming right away.
Absolutely.
And how can you measure the impact is going to be right now, or is going to be in 3 or in 6 months? Is the approach of the campaign, or is the target that you are trying to reach?
I think it's all about setting expectations when you're talking to a client. You have to let them know that this is not an overnight success in most cases. I have seen a few overnight successes, but they're so few and far between that it's just not realistic to expect that's going to happen.
Nike, for example,
Yes,
like
right.
like a Parnig ad
Yes.
is like a big conflict, and then the sales start to rise like crazy.
But I believe that's so temporary, and I think they've shot themselves in the foot, honestly. And I'll just give my 2 cents. It's just an opinion, and
Okay.
only time will tell. But I think when you make a divisive a statement as a brand, that you basically are alienating a bunch of customers, and then you have the short-term buyers who want to support your stance. You made a stand and they want to go spend money with you. So I think my prediction is that the sales spiked. I think ultimately the people that they alienated are going to cost them more money than the short-term sales that they created.
Because they are not adding, they are subtracting customers.
Correct. And when you take a stand where you alienate half of your customers, that's harsh. That could really bite you in the tushy, as they say. So we'll see. Only time will tell. But that's my prediction, is that people jumped on the bandwagon and supported them, that felt that their message was in alignment with their views, and so they went out and bought more shoes, etc. In the long term, though, I think the people they alienated will find, another brand to buy from.
Wow.
Bien, preguntábamos primero, en primera parte, porque Ravelo se emocionó. Preguntábamos en primera parte
Did I step in it?
qué métricas se utilizan para medir la efectividad de la
cuáles
campaña.
y cuáles mejores métricas, ¿no?
Y cuáles mejores métricas. Y Kim explicaba que las mejores métricas, eso es relativo, debido a que hay temas de engage, hay temas de ventas, hay temas también que tienen que ver con posicionamiento.
Claro. Ventas que no necesariamente van a ocurrir inmediatamente, sino que van a ocurrir más adelante,
Claro que sí.
en 6 meses.
Y ahí introducías otra pregunta también.
Exactamente. No, bueno, pero que estábamos hablando del caso de Nike, precisamente cómo la campaña de Kaepernick inmediatamente disparó las ventas, y dice Kim que en su opinión eso le costará en el futuro, porque quizás ellos están restando consumidores y no sumando consumidores. Kim, who is going to be the next huge success in social media? Can we predict that? Or is like I don't know, like a fairy tale?
Goodness, this is kind of a difficult one, simply because I think all social media platforms have a place, depending on your business and then what you're using it for. I think if you could take any one social platform, and if you really focus there and build community there, you could do amazing things with it. But just again, if you're just new and you're trying to figure out where you fit and where you should be, Facebook is the elephant in the room, obviously.
Yes.
They are still, and they're innovating faster than any other social platform. And still growing.
Still growing.
Maybe not by the same leaps and bounds as some of the others, but they're innovating at such a rapid rate that I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon.
And the monetizer system that they have is so effective.
So effective. Facebook ads are like an ATM machine if you know how to use them correctly. It's a fascinating dynamic that they have. And then because they own Instagram, I think we really have to pay attention to Instagram, and specifically the Instagram stories there.
Yes.
I think the Instagram stories are, and I see Instagram, because I've been around a long time in the social space, I see Instagram kind of going in the same development phases that Facebook did. So we'll see. I mean, we've already seen that Instagram has started, with an algorithm shift that will continue to tighten. And, the ads there will, of course, probably go up as time goes on. So it's just going to be a constant evolution, as all things are.
Let me translate a little bit. Kim le preguntaba cuál será el gran éxito de las redes sociales en el futuro, y me dice, bueno, es que cada una de las redes sociales tiene como su espacio. Está Facebook, que es el más grande de todos, que sigue creciendo, que tiene un sistema de monetización muy bueno, pero por el otro lado está Instagram, que hay que tomarle mucha atención porque está creciendo muy rápido.
Sí.
Snapchat has a future, or is already in the EUCI?
I know that some brands have done amazing things on Snapchat, but I think for the average business owner and the average brand who is not well known and doesn't already have a community that they can move to Snapchat, you're going to die on the vine there, simply because it's so hard to build community on Snapchat. For most businesses, I don't even recommend it anymore. I think the bigger opportunity as it relates to that temporary content is on Instagram. So I would say if you're going to create stories, use Instagram, Facebook stories next in that order, and then Snapchat would be my last recommendation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
I know, right? I feel bad for Snapchat. Maybe they should have taken Facebook up on their offer back in the day.
Absolutely.
Kim nos dice que no recomienda Snapchat en estos momentos debido a la volatilidad y también a la falta, diríamos que, de una estrategia definitiva para poder enganchar con los millennials. Mi última pregunta para Kim Garst, ya que tiene compromisos aquí en FOA. It's easy to have engaged with the millennials, with the speaker and influencer is more all that day.
I don't think that millennials are as wrapped up in who you are as maybe some are, maybe a little bit older generation. I think they are, they're very savvy. And so, they just do their own research and figure it out themselves. And that doesn't mean they're not connected to people who they feel, is in alignment with their views. And I definitely think that they are aware and respond to things like that. But they're very sharp, and they're people who, definitely take recommendations, especially as it relates to products. I see a lot of millennials that are influenced by influencer campaigns around things that they buy routinely or things that they're interested in buying. So I think there's an opportunity absolutely there for sure as it relates to millennials.
And retro things and retro people is trendy for the millennials. I have a 15 years old daughter, and when I play music from the 80s, she knows the music, and she already she not even born when this music was on fashion.
Le preguntábamos a Kim, ya para concluir, de si una persona, un speaker o un influencer puede hacer engage, es decir, con los millennials, no importando su edad, su diferencia de edad. Kim nos dice que sí, que se puede, claro que sí, que ellos no ven temas de edades, sino sencillamente ellos ven el mensaje, ven también la conectividad entre el producto y el influencer también, y que sí que están abiertos a recibir mensajes de personas mayores que ellos.
Kim, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful time here in Santo Domingo. We hope to see your speech and your conference here in FOA, and we'll hope to see you soon in the others FOA in the future.
Come on up to Tampa anytime.
Tampa. Gracias a Kim Garst, una de las 10 influenciadoras más poderosas en las redes sociales según Forbes. A las personas que nos están escuchando, tenemos esta entrevista en YouTube, en Spotify, en iTunes, en Spreaker, es decir que no hay manera de que usted se la pueda perder. Vamos a hacer un break comercial, atención en cabina, y venimos en un ratito con otra entrevista interesante en este FOA 2018.